Hi, it's me. Waiting to see if I have company tonight, as usual. So give us a moment. I guess I can put up my screen. And we'll see. I could find a better place to put this bar. Venita is here. Lovely. Hey,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine.
I'm not convinced, but
Oh no, I work today and the religious chapter, where's your behind now?
oh, I didn't even read that.
What did you read?
The one before,
Did I read the wrong chapter? Yeah, I did.
maybe Imperial, what is it? Imperial Visions, chapter 11.
I read chapter 12.
Had you already read 11?
Let's see, why I read 12?
Maybe last week. You might have been looking at the old schedule.
Maybe I was. I didn't realize it was a new. I don't know. I'm so busy. But I think I read the wrong chapter. Oh, I didn't read the Imperial Vision, so I'm definitely not prepared.
Okay. We
But I did. I read the Law of Religion, chapter 12.
oh
Yeah,
wow.
girl.
I better get an early start if you say it wears you out.
Yeah,
Um,
where's you out? No, it's interesting, I guess. I mean, to understand
yeah,
um how religion started and where it's going from here, and how it developed all over the world and the many different religions. But
yeah.
yeah, it wears you out. I read the wrong chapter, so I'm really not prepared today.
Well, yeah, I think you can follow the discussion. But there is a new schedule, version 3, that's
Oh,
out because after we canceled, a couple of weeks ago, um, I put out the new schedule. So yeah, you could just look at it as we're a week behind on, everything that you have on. Probably you're looking at version 2 of the schedule.
yeah, that's the
Hey,
one I'm
Trio.
printing out. But I had printed it out. I didn't even look on the system for a new one.
Okay.
I had my calendar where I had everything else
Yeah.
for my life.
Yeah. Yeah. You know. I that's why I hate to cancel because then I got to change everything else related to it. But sometimes it happens and that's life. But that's what happens. you know?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah. So Venita read chapter 12, but I told her I think she can follow along. We can help her out with that. Um,
Yeah.
so let's go on and get started with welcome. Speaking of making changes, this is Reading for Change, a collective journey, cluster 4, that meets on Tuesdays at 5. And we started on October 24th, and initially we were planning to be done on April 2nd, but now we're scheduled through April 9th. So this is another document that needs to be changed. Um, you can learn more about us on our website, readingchangeslives.wordpress.com. Though I have been so just just behind the eight ball, I guess, or just I really do think this is the year I need to wind down because I, I'm stuck on last minute activity. So I did not get the website updated today. But normally, when things are going well, that's where the most up to date information would be about what's going on. We also have a Facebook page and a YouTube channel. And of course, currently we are reading Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. And tonight we are on chapter 11, Imperial Visions. And uh, okay, I guess I can close this. And mi nombre es.
This is part 3 of our 4-part Audacity guide. This video clipping is okay,
oh my
but
God.
this is
Sorry.
It's all right. I'm laughing, Jill, because normally you don't have any problems. And so the other day, we did the memorial for the non-memorial for my brother Mark, which I can send you if you'd like to see it.
Oh, yes, I would.
Okay, okay. And there was an older woman, probably in her 70s, that knew Mark pretty well from St. Louis, and she wanted to talk. And and everybody could hear her and everybody could see her, but she kept saying, "Am I on? Am I on?" Can you hear me? Yeah, we was like, "We hear you. We hear you." And Mark's son was like, "Go on, Graham, you on."
Oh, that's classic.
Yeah. So I think we do okay for old gals, Gio. But they had me hopping the other day because we had over 40 people coming in and out of the event. And my brother, who doesn't know anything about Zoom, I had made my co-host so he could kind of focus on that because I was facilitating. And it was just apparently we can have up to 100 people in our Zoom account. So if either one of you ever wants to have an event with up to 100 people, we're ready to go. But I'm not used to that. We never have more than maybe 10 people in book group. So I was like, oh God.
It was a challenge.
It was a challenge, yes. So anyway, I'm Michelle Odom and I'm in Brooklyn, New York. Joined my BFF. Are you alive?
Venita.
Hello, my name is Venita Walker, and I'm joining you from Cromwell, Connecticut. Welcome.
Barely. And Gio.
And I'm Georgette Moses, joining you guys from Columbia, South Carolina.
All right. And how's the weather down there this week?
We got a heat wave. It's 45 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Something else.
Yeah, we got up to I think it's gone up to so far to 38. I was supposed to go up to about 40 today, but I went out and I only needed 2 layers of clothes and I was okay.
All right, that's progress.
Yes.
Man.
Yes. Yesterday I went out. I had on 3 layers of clothes plus my pea coat. And I just felt like a stuffed sausage.
But that's what you have to do. You got to keep that hawk out because it's waiting
Yeah.
for you around the corner.
Yes, he is. He ain't playing.
Oh.
So, all right. Let me share the screen on the summary. Gio, you feel like reading?
Okay.
Okay. Move this over a little bit. This thing gets on my nerves. Okay. Okay.
All right. Our desires for freedom and independence, more often than not, give way to submission to dictates by empire. Without judging, the author demonstrates how aspects of empire are seen in legacies of language, religion, art, law, politics, food, architecture, and writings. In chapter 11, Imperial Visions, Harari defines empire as rule over a significant number of distinct peoples with flexible borders and the potential of swallowing up more nations without altering its basic structure. He takes a long view of history in using examples of empire from Britain to India to the Middle East and China. He also considers the complexity of merely identifying empire as evil, as well as throwing off the yoke of empire. The truth is, writes Harari, that empire has been the world's most common form of political organization for the last 2,500 years. Today, all human cultures are at least in part the legacy of empires and imperial civilizations, and no academic or political surgery can cut out the imperial legacies without killing the patient. Currently, the trajectory of empires seeing themselves as operating for the greater good means the global problems we face are leading us to the ultimate global empire.
Yikes. Thank you. Okay. Let me stop that. Okay, we're back. So, Benita, that's the gist of it. And that little summary that you saw is on if you're in on Facebook, either on the public page or the private page, where the link is to today, it includes that summary. Um, so I guess I have a question to get us started, and it just for Benita's benefit, he starts out talking about um, how this group um, went back and forth with Rome, sometimes defeating Rome. They were called the Numantians, and uh, until Rome got really tired of being defeated by them or losing battles to them, and they sent in one of their top generals. And it says the Numantians had nothing on their side but their fierce love of freedom and their inhospitable terrain. Yet they forced legion after legion to surrender or retreat in shame. And eventually, Rome was able to surround them and starve them out, pretty much like they're doing in Gaza now. But rather than go down, um, when the Numantians realized that all hope was lost, they burned down their town, according to Roman accounts. Most of them killed themselves so as not to become Roman slaves. So my first question out of that is, do we think that African Americans have enough love of freedom? It's a hard question.
I, I think I think it would depend on the person because we look at freedom differently. We each have different definitions of freedom from what I see. So it's hard to tell. It really is. Depends on,
Yeah, I think, go ahead. Sorry.
no, it just depends on what side of the fence you're looking from. It depends on your life experiences. It depends on a lot of things, what freedom looks like to you. Or if you already think you're free. Some people may think they're free, and I look at them like, I don't hardly think so. Some people look, and vice versa. It's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, it is. And, I mean, I think, um, I've always had a certain admiration for people that would just kill themselves as opposed to being enslaved. And you and I have talked about this, Venita, you know. But I also have admiration for those who figured out what to do, how to survive, because I think more than anything, life is about survival. And so, killing yourself is not easy,
Mm,
but I think surviving, amidst the kinds of challenges our ancestors have faced, is even harder than killing yourself. Venita and I talk all the time about, if y'all have been dependent on us
mm,
during the slavery era,
mm.
it would be no more
Uh-oh.
Black people.
And I think Gio's right in there too. I just would not have made a good slave. They
And
told me to go outside, and they
you
were told me
tried.
go outside in that sun and start picking anything. Or the master would said, told his wife to bring me on upstairs.
Yeah.
I'd have to whip her ass, so therefore I know I was going to live to the next day. You see what I'm saying, George? It's in me to fight. So that wouldn't have worked. So no, I wouldn't have made a good slave. I just wouldn't be able to conform.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be running away every day, me and Michelle and you. And they wouldn't even get from the dinner table. They said, oh, that's just Georgette, Venita, and Michelle again. We'll go get them after we finish dinner.
Essentially, the point that he's making in this chapter, Venita, is that basically all of the world's people today owe their heritage, their legacy to empire, to some conquering body that they ultimately succumb to. And they embrace the culture, and the language and everything else that empire was bringing. And so whether you call it good or bad or evil or whatever, it is what it is. And you can talk about you want to disengage from this conqueror, but it's so much in us, it's so deeply threaded into everything we do, what we eat, how we speak, uh, 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 you know, that really it just can't be done. So,
Speaking of Rome, I just met a person the other day, a Black woman from Guyana, a young woman. She must have been probably in her, she looked to be probably in her very late 20s, maybe if the latest early 30s, 31, 32, or something to that effect. And she lives in Rome, and she's from Guyana. And it was interesting. And I said, what brought her to Rome? She was here to visit in Cromwell. She said, it's so white here. I said, well, you wouldn't have been able to make it here about 10 years ago if you think this is white. Because to me, the whole population is just, been a big about faith. She said, yes. I said, oh. I said, well, so how is it in Rome? because I'm ready to go when you're ready for me to come carry your bags.
What did she say?
And she said, believe it or not, there are a lot of black people in Rome. Go figure.
Mhm.
There's a very good population of black people in Rome. And I asked her, why is that? Was there some great exodus, from somewhere? Because that's the first thing that comes to mind, like in France or any other place. And she says, no, that may be a little bit part of it, but most of it is because of technology. Because technology is allowed, and I guess we're the only people here to think that it's so funny how people's minds run only because you're living in it. Of course, technology is universal. It's all over the world. So since there's so many technological positions, she was college educated too, mind you. Open now that you have black folks coming from all over the world to work. It's easy, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So it might have been some of it where folks just came from other places, whatever. They escaped something. But she said the vast majority of it is that now technology has made it so you can work from anywhere. And it's easier for you to be mobile. She's been there now for 10 years.
Wow.
And she says she loved it.
I bet she does.
And
That fresh pizza.
Yeah, she has a great, yes. And, she's dying. And I told her, well, I've never been to Rome, but you let me know when you're ready for me to come.
Right.
And, when you live in Cromwell, I'll be ready. But it was just interesting that, before everything was so sparse, you had 2, 3 black people, whatever case may be. Unless you were escaping something, you didn't say one day to your husband or your significant other or your sister, brother, anybody, I'm moving to Rome. But apparently that has changed a lot because of technology. And so she loves it. She enjoys it. She came to see her sister, lives in Cromwell, Connecticut. And she's been here for, she said, 20 years now in this area. And so she loves it. I just thought that it was interesting since you mentioned Rome. It just so happened I met a few days ago. So we can go to Rome in November.
Let's talk about that though. Yeah.
In November?
In November. Okay.
I'm down.
I'm trying to plan it out, girl. I'm trying to plan it out. In case you want to survive, we got to escape.
Okay.
Rome, I got a phone number and address and everything.
All right. Okay. We're going to, put that in the emergency wallet. Need to pull it out.
Right there. Got my connection, girl.
Yeah.
So, but she loved it though. I just wanted to
put it in our go bags like Octavia Butler told us we needed.
You know what? Don't bother Octavia because she knew the word. Everything she was saying is what we were saying, especially from COVID on. The paints, the this, the that, all that stuff just came to life. I'm so glad I read her book prior to.
Yeah.
Prior to COVID, particularly. And that person.
Tomorrow, I bought my ticket to go see Origin tomorrow.
Oh, you want to see it tomorrow?
Yeah. And I mean that's another book where she's talking about the past mostly, but we're seeing a revival of the past. So anyway, apparently it hasn't gotten a lot of activity. So
because who knows about it, right? They're not publicizing it as well as the Color Purple. Come see the Color Purple.
Oh,
come see it.
Right.
Oh, and I still wonder why that was publicized so much. It was only in theaters like one day or something, and now you have to stream it. So it must have been some huge benefit to Oprah, because girl don't do nothing that's going to benefit her.
This is a fact.
Yeah. So, but anyway.
Well, Michelle, make sure you tell us next week. Give us a review of it, okay?
Well, I want you all to go see it too.
I gotta find it. I'm in South Carolina.
Oh.
Oh,
It
there
might be
is
playing on
that.
the underground and some obscure club. I don't know.
We have to go down there and literally get her.
Right? I
Bring
might
her
have to
to
go
the
all the way to
movie.
Charlotte and find
Oh,
the screen. Okay.
Oh,
Hey,
jeez.
they don't
Jeez.
they yeah, hey.
Okay. All
But
right. Well,
anyway,
luckily you read the book. It's
yeah.
based on cast. Yeah.
yes.
They'll be
Neil,
streaming.
what are your thoughts on do African Americans have enough love of freedom?
Ooh, well, we're back to the definition of freedom in the current climate to
Mm,
different people, right?
mm,
Because if your life is going well, you feel free.
mm.
You don't really care about the rest of the group.
Exactly.
Um, and this chapter was really it opened my eyes about a lot of things that I just glanced over, right? I took for granted. And it's how the conqueror, uh, the colonizer, the empire, whatever you want to call it, absorbs the people it conquers. Because once you've been conquered, right, you want to conform. All your fight is gone. You're like you're not really free because yeah, okay, the empire, whoever the colonizer is giving you some benefits that you didn't have before. So now you're weighing and deciding, oh, well, can we get an uprising going? And if we take over, what will we have? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And who are you going to have it with?
Mm-hmm.
So you've already begun thinking like the dominant culture,
Mm-hmm.
right? Your value system has changed.
Mm-hmm.
So what does freedom mean to you anymore when you're fighting to be seen as an equal in the eyes of the dominant culture? You saw that, he describes this, for all the people that the Roman Empire, you know, dominated over until it fell. For the who else did he say? We had the British and the Indian
Mm-hmm.
culture,
And in
right?
the Middle East and
And
China.
and the Middle East and China. After a while, there is no fight because you want to be seen as one of,
Mm-hmm.
because that's ingrained in human beings. Only few people, right, may have that. This isn't, I don't want to, there's something that has to be better somewhere. How will I find it? How will I create it? And start thinking about those things. And then do you have time? Because right now, with technology, the good and the bad of it, right? They're also maintaining this superior mind control situation over how we'll move, what we'll think, what we'll like, what we don't like. You know,
What we'll
how,
buy.
Right, especially what we will buy, what we will spend those small dollars we have left over after they've sucked the rest of it out of us because they dictate the price of things, right? To keep us on these treadmills, because this is supposedly the life, this is success. But
Mm-hmm.
there's so many of us that have fallen through the cracks. Uh, uh, we have homeless people. What do they think about, what's going on? And would the homeless people, get together and fight for just basic human, decency, services, facilities? Could they get together? Would the senior citizens get together if they said, okay, we're taking Social Security and we're investing it in junk bonds or whatever?
No,
What
no.
would
You know,
the
maybe,
uh,
maybe not the homeless, maybe not the homeless, but the senior citizens, AARP, they powerful. No, Georgette. You have all them senior citizens on Capitol Hill, walking, riding in a wheelchair. Name it, they're gonna be there. So
right.
But
But
that's
the
why.
but the could
but
but the
what would
could
it take? That's
could
what it would
they
take for different people.
the
Yes.
the could they, is an important point, I think, Georgette. Because I was thinking about that in reading this chapter in terms of myself. when I was a younger woman and didn't have an autoimmune condition, and I had a lot of energy and a lot of mouth and a lot of fight in me. But now you could blow on me hard and knock me over. I ain't fighting nobody. you know. And so, so capacity is a real point, and a lot of the homeless are disabled in various mental and physical ways, and a lot of the elderly are disabled in various ways. And yeah, Venita's right. There's AARP out there, and there's a strong coalition of seniors. But if it really came down to a physical interaction, I don't know how much the seniors, how much wind they got left in their sails, you know. Um, and that's what that's what he's talking about, starting with this situation with Rome and the Numantians, that empire is a bloody, it's a bloody proposition. And it starts out uh uh being bloody, and he talks about over several generations is when people start to accept it is what it is. So for those first generations, it's very uncomfortable because you still miss your old culture, your old ways of being. But a few generations down the line, and the kids are like, and we're going with the dominant flow. No questions asked. So, I mean, I know we like to think we would really engage in productive battle, but I ain't so sure about that. And then the other thing, like you were talking about, it's something you said reminded me that I wanted to look at for a second at China, like China and Taiwan, or Cuba and Russia. And so you want your independence, right? But really what you're doing is aligning with a different empire. Because nobody is really big and bad enough to stand out there on their own. So yeah, Taiwan wants to be free of China, so what? They can hang out with Americans.
You will align with something or somebody or some empire.
Yeah.
No doubt about that. It's just which one you choose and will do the least amount of damage. And
Right.
people do that over and over and over again every day, whether it's in their personal or business or whatever.
Right.
So you're going to have an alliance. It's just which one you choose.
Right. And that's why he's talking about why it's so difficult to try to get yourself out of, from under the thumb of empire. Because it ain't easy.
Right.
Not easy. And it's always been, there's no peace, as we know, ever. It's always going to be some blood that's going to be shed. And there are always going to be those out there that are willing to do that. They rather die fighting for their freedom than to sit back and say, okay, this is the way it is. Whether that's me or you or the homeless, because there's a few out there that don't have mental illness. There's a few out there that after COVID and hyperinflation, which is only a grab by corporations, that they are on the street and homeless. Lots of people they may get a mental issue after they get there, but before they got there, they were law-abiding, so-called in the United States, God-fearing working people, and suddenly they woke up and they were on the street. So it depends on what situation you're in. Also, they got to have the strength, and you have to be hungry. Enough. We're getting there.
Now, see, that makes me think about how most people, when you fall on hard times, our Western culture makes us believe it's our fault, even when it's not. And I'm going to relate that to how the Numantia people, after they were decimated, they burned their own village down, right, and killed themselves.
Mhm.
The Romans created an imaginary hero
Mhm.
out of the Numantians and created a whole storyline. So the people, whoever was left, the Spanish would have something, right, to look up to. So they created, you know, the memory of the vanquished, as he said.
Mhm.
So even that is controlled by your colonizer.
Yeah.
Your memories of uh and what is it? What is that? Some probably something psychological, right? Oh, the people who fought against it are gone. What do we have left? But it was honorable. Oh, it's so great. But you ain't gonna survive if you try
Right.
it. Right? Right? It's indoctrination. So
Yeah.
right. So I'm leaking, that seems the same thing as, if you can't make it in our society, it's
Mhm.
your fault, right?
Right.
They're
Right.
telling us what the rules are and
Right.
that we can't change them, which is not true. But how do we begin to think about how to change the rules?
Mhm. It's tough stuff. But I'm glad you got a lot out of this chapter because Harari he will put something on your spirit. You
that
know?
is true.
Yeah. And speaking of that, Jill, my question related to that was, who are our African heroes? For the most part, um, we don't know who they were. you know, we just don't know because such a thorough job of erasing our memories, our history, was conducted. But it was interesting. It was so interesting to me the way Wakanda, the way African Americans embrace that concept of Wakanda, because it's like there's a hunger for heroes that we can identify with, um, because we've been starved of the real thing.
Yeah. That's so true. Well, we do have some heroes if we had access to the material, the original material, right? If our school systems weren't comprised of what they need us to learn to become a cog in their great wheel.
Mhm.
Uh, so our attention has been funneled towards stuff that doesn't matter that would not create a better global citizen because you need to know your history in order to go forward. I feel like the vast majority of students in all grades and in most settings are like floating.
Mhm.
It and, and the first thing that comes to mind is the pod in the Matrix that Neo was in before he freed himself.
Mhm.
We are there floating, waiting for an event, a catalyst
Mhm.
that will make some dynamic change in how we operate in this global empire that
Right.
Harari is talking about. And so,
And you talk about moving forward, but moving forward in a way that doesn't simply reinforce what the colonizer has programmed you
yes,
to be.
absolutely. And in here. when he was speaking about India, I'm trying to say, and how the British, they just completely dominated them so that now they just love their tea, which is British.
Yes. Yeah.
They didn't have tea plants over there until the
Right.
British said, "We need tea. It's tea
Right.
time." Right? They like cricket, they want to play cricket, totally.
And
And
Gandhi himself.
right, I'm going to be a lawyer. Not on this train. Boop.
Yeah.
Picked him off. Okay, hey, you're still, you know, he's still a native in our eyes, a barbarian. And
Right.
so I'm looking at, there's a picture on, in my digital version is page 262.
The
Uh,
Mumbai train station.
yes, that,
Uh-huh.
they changed the name of it once they, sort of divested of
Let me
British
see if I.
rule.
Oh, you have the book,
Yeah,
Venita, right?
I saw that picture.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so they didn't want to raise it, right? Take it down
Right.
because it's such great architecture. And I agree. Okay,
Yeah.
it's a memory,
And
a
the Taj
reminder,
Mahal.
right? A
Mhm.
reminder of your an empire that dominated you, right? That changed the culture that you originated from, everything about you. And
Mhm.
so if you had but it's interesting because the Indian people have amazing architecture that they don't even know about. They have temples similar to oh, what's that church? Oh, I can't remember. It's in Africa, where they constructed out of, no, carved out of a single piece of stone down, and it goes down into the ground. And they don't even know how did they do it. How do you take a block and without mistakes, because if you make a mistake, you're done, right? Especially on that scale. And it's perfect. You've created a building with intricate statues and all kinds of fancy, moving parts, stone with moving parts. And
Mhm.
so, and I'm thinking about, well, they had that kind of technology, that ability. And yet they were still eventually dominated by this other culture who just used, bullets, bombs, and brainwashing. It to take, and I'm curious what happened to that technology that they had at that time to make them vulnerable to these cats who just came over on a ship and blew some people up and killed a bunch of folks. Right? So Hmm. I know I'm going to, it's circuitous, but also that this train station as a symbol of your persecutor, your dominator, your colonizer, made me think about, okay, well, what do we do with our structures? We had a movement where we're renaming stuff, we're throwing statues, in the water. But what would be a better way of dealing with these? You know, why not have a plaque and say, this is so and so, but these are the things he did. Click on this and get a good look, right? Instead of destroying the structure, have a complete, honest history available to the people who access this, whatever it is, building, statue, you know, uh,
Right.
you know,
Yeah, that was an argument when all that was going on, you know. Um hard it's hard to say to either put a plaque on it or put up something new in addition to that would tell the other side of the story, you know. Here go the Native Americans and what they had to say, you know, uh, about it. Um, yeah, it's really thorny stuff, but I mean, he really gets me when he talks about, even if you disassociate yourself from the current um, culture, the likelihood is that you just go back to another conquering era. Like I was thinking about, the whole Black power, Black consciousness era of
It's 54 degrees Fahrenheit
in this country, and and how some people associate so much with kings and queens and that kind of language, um and but there was a whole lot of empire building and conquering going on in Africa. So who, exactly are you affiliating with? And is that really your original? You know,
Yeah.
and we're so mixed up at this point. You do the genealogy and you find out you a little bit of this and a little bit of that, a little bit of that. So who then do you affiliate? With? It's hard stuff.
Yes, it is. But I think that having the information is better
Mm-hmm.
than not, right?
Yes. Especially, I
Mhm.
think, like Benita, he talks about, um, there's usually a period of time where the conquered people are not fully accepted as, first class citizens. And, um, but eventually some people, like think Irish, are able to successfully assimilate. Um, so what I started to say is, I think, Geo, that um, especially when you're in that period where you're not being fully accepted anyway, you know, that's when you really want to try to go back in time and figure out somebody that may have been treated you a little bit better.
Yeah,
uh,
I don't know. I mean, in this, I mean, he really gives you like, hey, well, this is what happened, but you ain't got to change. Basically,
yeah.
in this chapter. So, I'm gonna on page 266. He says something I wasn't even, aware of because I'm not a geopolitical person. I don't know. But he says in the early 21st century, the world is still divided into about 200 states, but none of these states is truly independent. They all depend on one another. The economies form a single global network of trade and finance shaped by immensely powerful currents of capital, labor, and information. An economic crisis in China or a new technology coming out of the USA can instantaneously disrupt economies on the other side of the planet. And relating that to what Venita you said about the lady from Liberia, you said she was from Liberia? No,
Diane.
Guyana, working in Rome, and because of she had technical skills, right? A bunch
Mhm.
of people are doing this. They're also working from home, from wherever they are, because of technology. So we are
Mhm.
just so enmeshed in each other's thing.
Mhm.
uh, how would we escape anything?
You can't.
Because our lives are intricately, you know, we depend on stuff that's happening in if the Panama Canal, right, is drying up because of global change, people don't believe it. But hey, there it is in front of your face, and you are not getting your stuff because still most things come by ship, right? You have a war, you know, in Gaza, and what is it? The Suez is it the Suez Canal? What is the canal over there? Ain't no your stuff is not your ships aren't going there, so you're not getting people all over the world are not getting things because of two groups that can't get along, that can't come to a humanitarian, what the most of the world sees, a sensible, reasonable, way to live together for many different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So,
No.
Well, another thing that came up for me in this chapter, I don't know exactly where it is right now, but where he talks about I don't think he uses the word paternalism, but basically what he's talking about is empires taking like a paternalistic attitude, looking at their subjects as children to be taken care of, and the elites or the rulers of the empire, as the parents and the leaders. And that had me thinking about language. One of my teacher's favorite expressions was language structures thought. And I was thinking about in the African American culture how we have this tradition of calling Black women mama. And
I don't know. And don't appreciate it. Nobody's ever called me mama other than my
and
children.
I mean, it's one thing when we lived in more communal environments and you were really just calling her mama as a sign of respect. And the next sentence might be, mama, can I help you across the street? Mama, can I carry those groceries for you? And so I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with that. But when the next sentence is, mama, can you spare a dime?
Oh, God.
Uh, now you taking me someplace.
Yeah, yeah.
And there was a man in my life a while back that he was that mama, can you spare a dime? And I mean, I think of myself as a compassionate person. I understand that everybody needs help, sometimes, including men. But it's really, really hard to look at a grown man with his hand out and not, not want to spit in his face. I'm sorry. But
Michelle, that's a really strong reaction.
it brought out something ugly in me, Jill.
Yeah.
And one day I said to him, do I look like your mama? And he looked at me like like he was about to slap the black off me. Venita knows I live within an inch of life at any given moment. But it just came out. It just came out. So I say all of that to say yes, people have different definitions of freedom, and yes, it's next to impossible to extricate ourselves from the dominance under which we exist. But at the same time, there have to be adults in the room. You got to be looking at the problem from an adult perspective, and if your answer is just I'm okay being dominated, you know then yeah, you're gonna be dominated.
Yeah.
We lost a lot of adults. Number one, we used to have maybe a few more adults in the room when we grew up. But now, young and old, from what I'm seeing, I can't tell if anybody's adults. I mean, it's bad enough being a child and you're 9 years old and you're literally the only adult in the room. Now you can see old people that you feel like you're the only adult in the room, whether they're 30, 40, 50, or 60, because, or whatever the case may be. Their responsibility, not accepting response. And I'm a responsibility advocate. I believe in people accepting their own responsibility. You're responsible for you. That is the least you can do, is take care of you. That's your duty, to take care of you. So is this so adults around anymore? I mean, I have to shake my head sometimes at things I have heard. I can't even respond. There's no need for me to respond. I just like, okay, you do you, I'll do me. It's all good. That's why we'll never come together. The person I met from Rome, that's a Black Ghanaian, she's having a pig in a blanket. She's making a very good income. She was smiling the whole time. Beautiful teeth too, mind you. Nice teeth. And smiling the whole time and saying how beautiful it was. She's not going to fight no fight, maybe even in Ghana at this point. She is okay. And because we're so divided, technology helped that too. Before, we didn't have phones. We had a phone and, we didn't have all the other mediums of communication we have today. So we were forced to be right here. Like, okay, we have to do this together in order to make this work. But now, and it's not just education. At some point, there was an educational divide. Those that got an education or skills were able to escape poverty, get that zip code changed, But it's beyond that now. So, we didn't catch it then. I just can't see us catching it now. And I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just, saying there's so much going on. There's so many people that what they perceive as being okay is actually they're okay. I mean, and before we were all right here, you know what I'm saying? Most of us are right here. So we had that common goal in mind. We communicated. If someone down the street lost their job at the shipyard, nobody would talk about you. Nobody would say a word. But what everybody did do was get together like this to find out how much your rent or mortgage was. Make sure you had something, that was paid. Make sure your children were fed. Make sure you were fed. The utility bills are paid. But today, it's a form of entertainment for those that are doing okay. Even for those that aren't doing okay. My husband and I were talking the other day, and Carlton and I just had to smile at each other. I said, it's so sad when you have the three layers of poor fighting each other. Because that's where it comes to now, it's the rich and the poor. You have the high poor, the middle poor, and the low poor competing against each other.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? I still can understand that. I don't understand it. I'm not naive, but I just don't understand it. I don't think I ever will. Especially at this point, it is literally the higher poor, the middle poor.
Complex stuff. Yeah.
And you're fighting against each other. I just don't understand that. And I said, and it's hard to respect all that crazy because, for me, if you want to do some, this, I ain't gonna say it on film, but There's a lot of things you could be doing besides fighting amongst each other and competing against each other. Competing against what? Against what? And every day, the ones in the high poors are dropping off to the middle poor. Actually, there's no high poor anymore now. It's this middle dropping off to the poor. So you got two layers now.
And competing to get more of the benefits that the colonizer is distributing.
And taking more and more of those benefits away from you every day.
Yeah.
Even whether you are disabled, even if you're not disabled, if you work for them, whether you're educated, whether you're not, whether you're skilled or you're not. And that's what I don't understand why no one's seeing that. It's like it doesn't make a difference anymore. I think when I moved to this town, they got their new set of slaves in this country. And we talked about the other day, Michelle. I was truly a minority. Very uncomfortable for me, because I just don't, it's not my thing. And the white people were majority. There's two black families in this town. One, when I got here, they've been here for 100 million years, when it's farm, because it's a farm town, was a farm town. And then me. Now, the white folks don't even know I'm here. And it's quite a few blacks have moved there since then. They're the minority. Truly the minority. You know who's turning to the majority here? The Asian Indians and Ukrainians.
Wow.
Yes. Just about a month ago, a whole large building cropped up like the ruins, like the building you were just talking about. And Carlton said, did you notice that? Did you notice that? Ukrainian society, probably about, I would say about 15,000 square foot building. One story.
Wow.
And this is an example.
Well, they got to have some place to distribute all those benefits they're going to get.
Okay.
They do. And they get many benefits. Again, when I was applying for Carlton citizenship many, many years ago, I was upset. And it said, and I happened to, I think maybe I pushed what's going through the prompt. And it says, going through the different names of different folks in different parts of the country. No black folk, though. Did you get your so-and-so check? Press 1. I'm like, did you get your so-and-so benefit? I'm like, wait a minute, my husband working all his life in this country paying taxes. And I didn't see anything about the educated or skilled Jamaican getting any benefits for anything. You see what I'm saying? And that's all by design.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be optimistic because I'm in a wonderful mood whenever I see you two ladies.
Okay.
Thank
Don't
you.
think I'm not saying optimistic, but every time I'm feeling a flutter or a glimpse of hope, then a big old building in front of me. And then Carl like, okay, we know where we stand, But it's the truth though. We used to be the minority, but we're, it's white folks. That's why they went. What do you think January 6th was about? That's what it's not. I mean, and they look, and the few now they look so sad when they're around me. You just want to give them a hug, like. I mean, I'm not feeling no different. I'm not feeling no kind of way, I'm not about to fight this fight as long as I live, and then my kids have to fight the fight, and their grandkids have to fight the fight. But you should see them; they look so sad. I'm like, well, I'm so sorry these things are happening to you.
Well, Harari is not particularly optimistic or pessimistic in this chapter.
It sounds like it is.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
That's why he's saying the last 2,500 years, it is what it is. So, which maybe there's some comfort in that point of view. One thing I thought about, you know how governments establish a rule against printing money. Only the the official can print the money. But I was wondering how they deal with that on Native American reservations. Can they print their own money?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No, I think that they're a sovereign nation, at least here, for me, being with the Master Tucket and the whatever we got in the reservation. I'm so happy for them. I just wish I was Indian. Had a no, I was just so happy for them. It was time. It was time. And I was like, yes, get it. They use regular money printed by our treasury. They don't have their own money, but their nation is separate. And I don't know how that goes. I just haven't really gotten to it that much, but they are a separate nation, but they use regular green.
And that's a part of what he's talking. He doesn't talk about Native Americans, but he's talking about how even when a nation is able to be independent, it's still so interdependent.
It sure is.
With the rest of the world. And,
sure
and there are still certain things that are legacies of the dominant culture,
Yes, it is. Well, the first time they invited an American Indian to the White House was after the casinos came to life. They had never invited an Indian to come near for any reason before then.
Yeah.
In case nobody didn't notice that.
Yeah, I mean that's an example of a population that has been really delayed in being assimilated, into the broader or the dominant culture. And so now, who is it? I think I don't know if she's still in office, but Biden, put somebody.
I remember, yeah.
I don't know, Bureau of Indian Affairs, whatever, but for the first time, in the cabinet, a Native American in the cabinet.
It wasn't a proud day, as far as I was concerned, and probably for a lot of Native Americans either. The only reason why they notice you are breathing now is because of capitalism. Okay. The reservations here, when they make their money in the casino, they make much money almost as Jesus. The state gets a lot of that money. There's a percentage that they get. Not overly crazy, but they make some millions. And again, they would have never invited them there if it wasn't for capitalism. Not because they had love with Native Americans, that got a damn thing to do with it. So it really was not a proud fact. And a lot of Native Americans, and I know some, were really insulted by it. And don't give a damn about it.
Yeah.
So that was my point. It's like it had nothing to do with them. Like nothing has nothing to do with us.
But there are examples of people that have done a lot to try to preserve as much of their native culture.
Oh, many have. That's right. And that's not the point. Yeah, many have. It's just that this country doesn't notice you unless it's about the dollar. That's my point. No, they're fighting every day. We have beautiful museums here, always have, all kind of Native American cultures. I took my children, probably about 3 Schmitzens. One here, one in Massachusetts, and one in Pennsylvania. It's just a colorful extravaganza of all the tribes that come from all over, New York, Massachusetts, all over the place, Midwest. And they have all their beautiful dances and all their beautiful garb and all. It's just fabulous. So no, that's not the point. The point is they don't give a damn about you. Native Americans are doing for them. The white folks in this country are not doing for them. Don't give a damn about them. They invite to the White House, and as they
but my point is that if you set it in your mind that you want to preserve at least some of your cultural heritage, there are ways to do it to a certain extent. It may not include printing your own money,
right?
But there are certain things that you can do. I'm loving in our modern day the sort of natural hair movement going on, where Black women are finally doing really creative things and beautiful things with their natural hair, as opposed to the creamy crack, you know.
Wow.
And I mean, we've had to fight for the right to control our hairstyles, because the dominant culture will take that away from you if you let them. And so, I'm just saying, even though we may not be able to win the war, there are these small battles that we can succeed in, when we decide that's what we want to do. And that's what I mean. But adults have to be in the room to make those kinds of choices.
Well, the business of gambling has turned to capitalism, because I remember the reservation first opened, and they're absolutely fabulous. And they had all the cultural things. There's nothing there but cultural things. Now it's one big mall.
And you have what, Foxwoods and Mohegan Sun there.
But and they are assimilating for sure. Actually, they have. Again, when they first opened, for the first so many years, it's all cultural, all the cultural shops, and now you can't even find a shop in there. It's like being at a mall. It's like being at a mall.
Wow.
And I don't believe the way they think. Yeah, I don't believe what they think have changed. It's just that it's it's a business, and they're giving the people what they want. So it has totally changed. And again, they're still doing their thing. I'm positive of that. Fighting for their people, making big changes, but it's a business. And apparently the cultural things in the reservations are huge. Especially Mashantucket. I mean, it's gigantic, building after building, hotels after hotels, and you name it. A lot of Asians come over, spend a whole fleet of them. I don't know where they get their money from, but they got a lot of it. And because of the Asians' appetites, even in a lot of our malls, the majority of the money they're making in designer shops are from Asians, Chinese Asians. They are the money spenders in the state of Connecticut. And they are catered to, which makes sense. It's a business. And that goes for iPhone, that goes for Louis Vuitton, it goes for anybody. Birkin, anybody.
That's the same.
But it's the truth. They're very, a lot of cultures are very materialistic, Michelle.
Well, yeah.
There are a lot of cultures that are very materialistic. And, anyways, that's interesting. Anything else good you could tell me?
Anything you wanted to anything else you want to point out?
Tell me something good, since I didn't read the right chapter.
Something good.
Yeah, tell me something.
Okay,
it's in the chapter.
Let's see now. Let's see.
Well, while Gio's thinking about that, let me just read the near the bottom of page 198, Venita.
Okay.
Many Americans nowadays maintain that their government has a moral imperative to bring third world countries the benefits of democracy and human rights, even if these goods are delivered by cruise missiles and F-16s. So I just wanted to read that because you're just sitting there talking about capitalism. And my question was, is it really a moral imperative or is something else going on?
There's something else going on, girl. They got nothing to do with no moral imperative. Anybody got no damn morals no more. We just talked about that.
Yeah.
Because if you had morals,
right,
we wouldn't behave the way we do, which dictates your values, which they coincide. So hell no, they don't give a
and then what about, I mean, we know that you know, African Americans have absorbed a lot of American culture, but you know, it works both ways. I mean, we like to talk about cultural appropriation, but you know, it's really or one way of looking at it, I think is the dominant culture being influenced by the dominated.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. The examples he gives in the chapter,
Mm-hmm.
include that. Even though he does say the dominating culture, they adopted the people who were conquered adopted some of the things that they liked.
Mm-hmm.
It's still you can't conquer somebody without being influenced by the things that they do also.
Right.
Yeah.
We should know that. Black folks should know that if nobody else knows it.
Yeah,
Right.
because America is a mishmash of, if you want to
Mm-hmm.
say, oh, I just lost the terminology. Appropriated cultures. That's
Mm-hmm.
us. That is the United States. We appropriate everything and say,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
It's American as apple pie.
yeah. We
Out
have
there.
some of that.
You know, it's funny when you said that, a little off the subject, but recently we had the Harvard president, which is a Black woman. They knocked her off that throne in a snap. She hadn't been up there long. And I don't know if you might have read some of the reasons for it, but this goes to show you how, things can change in an instant, depending on what the dominant culture wants or the subdominant culture wants. Because she hadn't been there but a minute. Now she back down there being a professor, knocked her right on that, bam, because she would not say what a certain culture wanted to hear. Or the way they wanted to hear it. It wasn't phrased the way they wanted to hear it.
Yeah.
Sit on that one.
Well, yeah, you know, assimilating into the dominant culture is not easy, you know, especially when your skin is black. You know, that's why I mentioned the Irish earlier. There's a difference between assimilation and acculturation. And you know, if you're Irish, or or you look pretty close to the dominators, then you're on the fast track.
That's right.
To assimilation. But when you don't look as much like them, then you may never be able to fully assimilate. At best, you can acculturate, taking on as many of the ways of the dominator as you can, as you want, but you're never fully there, you know. So I don't know. I mean, there's a part of me that really wishes Black folks had decided to, literally build our own nation within this nation, like the Native Americans. And I don't think it would have been easy. I know all the struggles that we have getting along with each other. uh you know um but I don't know if you can ever um gain the respect of the dominator when when your whole goal in life is to be them. you know I just think they are always gonna look at you as wannabe.
Well, that's a true statement. I know folks like that. They're not friends of mine, but they've been, associates and so on and so forth. Yes, I know friends. I know people like that. Mm-hmm. And again, we settle. We settle so easily. Just enough is good enough. We've already had those conversations. We can't blame everything.
Yeah.
On the white man. We have to set some responsibility ourselves. Here we go, responsibility again. Can't blame everything. We got enough to blame on them.
Yeah, I mean, what if instead of demanding integration, we had demanded reparations and our own nation?
You know what I'm saying? But it was more important to get to learn what those white folks were learning in their books. We had to know. But
well, they made it look so good. The grass was greener.
They did. We just had to know.
The sky was bluer.
Oh my goodness.
It's like when I hear, some of the Africans that moved, they're all over the place, but live in Britain. It's like me, how I feel about some things. But they have to know that Queen's English. They send their children there from Africa to learn that Queen's English, to get that Queen, and this is the fact. Mm-hmm. To learn that Queen's English and get that Queen's education. Which is a lot of reasons why we ended up where we were, because they wanted to get into that stratus, a lot of them, in the worst way, and still do. Yeah. You got 195 50 other languages on the continent of Africa, but we got to learn that Queen's English.
Well, you have to converse in the language of finance. Right? Of capitalism. And right now it's English. And so I'm going to link that to what Harari says on page 266. A multi-ethnic global society is forming over and above the individual states. Mm-hmm. Thanks to technology and capitalism, right?
That's it.
So my question is, and it's also his question, the last question of the chapter. Mm-hmm. Will a future empire, this global empire that they've told us that they're striving for, right? Will it do better?
I doubt it. I think global warming and that kind of thing, it has to have a global approach to get it real problem solving. But ultimately, I think if we become one government, it takes away our options. Like Venita was talking earlier about, well, let's get our bags ready in case we have to go to Rome.
Yeah, if we had a global dictator, we had no place we could go, right?
No place to go.
We have to, Elon, can I get a seat? Can I get a seat on the rocket?
Right.
Well, at least we have different environments. We can see different trees. We can see different museums before
Yeah.
we die. That's the part I'm looking at. I'm
Yeah,
trying to
but
be positive.
even with that, Venita, I remember my family always, as I was growing up, every summer we would take a cross country drive, and I of course was born in Los Angeles, and so we'd go back to California, and sometimes we'd go via the south or via the north or just straight across the country, and and do all these little side excursions um to all the things that are out there. And in those years, America was really a collection of very unique little towns, and you never know what you might find. And it was interesting, but over the years, after we were grown and my dad was gone, and it was just me and my mom and my son striking out, it became less and less unique. You had the big box stores, and pretty much any town you pulled into, you could find the same stuff. You had your Target and of course McDonald's, and you know,
Right.
and those cute little boutiques and whatnot were fewer and fewer. um in between. And as Venita's saying about the Native American casinos, reservations in Connecticut, I haven't been up there in over a decade. So what she's talking about, how they have become um just more Americanized. I can picture what's happening, and it's a shame. It's a shame. So as we become a global culture, I can picture, instead of the uniqueness and individuality that you find when you travel around the country, will be, a Walmart on every corner.
Oh God.
Well, no, that's what it's coming to, actually. I mean, and it's it's not. It's a realistic future. It's not like it's make believe. This is what's actually happening. Going to foreign countries. When I go to foreign countries, I don't want to see no damn Walmarts. I don't even want to see McDonald's. I don't want to see none of that. I want to see these quaint little villages.
Will.
That's what I'm saying. You don't want to see it, but I'm saying that's the way everything is so commercialized. It's not unique anymore. I want to see these quaint little villages. Everyone has their own little thing, their special foods. That's me.
Right.
I'm not a tourist, but you go there now. Well, look, there was a Jamaican woman on television the other day, and she is one of the folks that they have all their wares. As soon as the folks come, Jamaican, they sell their stuff. And, I don't know why she ain't noticed those big ships getting bigger and bigger and bigger in the last 20 years, but apparently she likes her carbon, her and her husband. That's what they do.
Uh-huh.
And they're getting older now, 20 years has passed. And she says, but, a lot of the tourists don't come and buy our things. And of course they don't, for a lot of reasons. First of all, you got these huge
The
cruise ships.
Mm-hmm.
With everything on. I hate a cruise. I'm not a cruise girl. I like to, fly and go to where map out. And everything is there for them. And then you have the younger generation. They're struggling to make ends meet. And the few extra dollars they might have left over, they're not trying to buy trinkets. That's that old head shit. Buy all this stuff and da. No, they're taking that money and trying to buy experiences.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, so we have to pivot. Everyone has had to do that. Some of us just pivot right out, just don't, but we have to pivot. Those shifts been coming up there for now, getting bigger by the day for at least the last 20, 25 years. They've always been big, but now you got the mega ones, 20,000 people. You could never get on there. What is you just noticing that? So that's causing a whole new set of problems for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and
as you were talking, I was thinking about Here Comes the Sun.
oh
you
yes,
know, and
yeah,
that image of life in Jamaica with that kind of industry. Yeah. What do you think, Gio? Why don't you take us out, on your commonly but not mandated positive note?
Okay, let me try. So, we are going towards this global empire, whether we like it or not. Now, what it looks like is going to be up to us. Will we allow it violence to get us there, or will we figure out a way to be inclusive and kind, humane, and encourage a cooperation that benefits every member? Because that's how you get cooperation. Everybody's got to see something that they will gain from working with you. So I think if we can figure out how to do that, how to change the narrative to that, we'll get there in a not so destructive way.
Don't you just love Gio, Venita?
it's that optimism that I enjoy so much.
That was so beautiful, Gio.
and your mother's letter.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
It
yeah.
was
that was.
everything. I read it 4 times.
Oh man, I'm glad I put it out there because
I am too. It made my day, made my week, made my month. That was everything.
you
Absolutely.
never know what people need to hear at some point in their life. And I was just talking to my son to Adam today, and he said it was very, very cool because he had
Yeah,
never seen the letter before.
Oh,
right.
wow.
Somebody believes in you.
Yes.
And she put a guarantee in there.
Didn't
And
she
then,
though?
I told her I read it 4 times. It just felt so good. And I was like, okay. And she guarantees. That's what I miss about those times. Your word meant everything.
And the
And she was,
handwriting,
yes.
handwritten note.
No, the words took me away when she was, the old days when your words was meant everything. She guaranteed, don't you worry about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm like, I haven't heard that since then. I love you. Thank you so much for sharing that. It made my day. It was wonderful. Took me way back, and all these good feelings I had. It was great.
Oh, cool. That's
Great.
very cool.
Well, all right. So, Benita, you are prepared for next week.
Yeah.
Oh, get your rest, honey. Get your rest.
All right. Benita, before you got here, Gio, she was saying chapter 12 will wear you out.
Yeah.
What? Oh,
Yes. Get your rest. You talking about religion?
oh no.
Yes. Yes. I read the wrong. You talking about religion, girl? Get your rest. Get your rest for next week.
Oh my
Okay.
God. Okay, I'll take it in small bites then.
In
Yes.
small bites, yes. But it's gonna be interesting. I'll tell you that's for sure. Very interesting.
All
Anyway,
Sounds good.
ladies.
right. Y'all have a nice week.
All right, thank you. You too.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Gio.
Thank you, Vanessa.
And I'll see you next week. Same
All
place.
right. Take
Reading
care,
our
lady.
story together.
Yes.
Yay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.